So I'm talking to David Zinger, and I've decided to take a slightly different approach to this program because Mr. Zinger has challenged me to do that. I won't go through his entire bio. We'll probably discover a little more about him throughout the interview. The one thing I will tell you is his tagline on his LinkedIn profile says he is devoted to drawing out the good in people and work, which is you're aiming pretty high there, David. Another thing he challenged me with is he wants me to ask my thematic question, the one I ask everybody at the end. He wants me to ask that question first. So, David, here we go. The experiment kicks off. David, what lessons have we learned during these multiple crises that we must not forget?
I'm not sure we've learned the lesson, and I'm speaking even for myself. I had the honor and privilege of watching about 25 of your interviews. And then I realized that I was starting to skip to the 4 minute mark or the 5 minute mark because I wanted to get to this question. And then it occurred to me really, the most important thing is don't bury your lead. Don't bury your lead. It's a newspaper term. Supposedly, it came from some people think the Civil War when telegraph lines would break down. And so, if 25,000 troops were about to attack, you don't want to talk about a whole bunch of other things if the telegraph line breaks down and you never get to it. Uh, there is so much content, there is so much information out there. So, from a communication standpoint, don't bury your lead. Know what's most important and start there. And I changed it from don't bury the lead to don't bury your lead because I also believe we write our own stories and we need to know what's most important for us and we need to get to what that is. So I really owe a debt to you because it was generated out of watching the videos and saying, I want to really get to what's most important first.
Okay. That's fantastic, and I think that's when you and I do collaborate on that ebook, that might be the title of the book is don't bury the
Excellent.
lead. So
I'm holding you to that.
that would be very cool, wouldn't it? I probably have to revisit a whole bunch of my intellectual property agreements, but we'll see where that goes. Now, right now, are you talking to me from Canada right now?
Yeah, I'm in Winnipeg. We went 13 days without a case of COVID. We only had 6 deaths out of a million. We are completely open up.
Hmm.
Everything is rolling and going, but I wouldn't get too confident about that. This little virus is a way of making us all pretty humble.
Hmm. And I would say your sweet spot, the thing you like focusing on, and where you help people, where you deliver kind of your life's work. How would you characterize that?
No doubt about it. Engagement, good work done well with others every day. Not employee engagement, although I use that term because it's accepted. I really think about work engagement. We've really done a disservice in letting employees know that when you fully engage, you not only enhance your contribution, you improve your well being, and you also have some career security, if not job security. We failed so many people when they thought engagement was a survey score, and then suddenly they're furloughed, laid off, or something, and now their work is to find work or to recreate themselves. They need the very same engagement skills that they would have working in an organization.
Hmm.
So it's really looking at how do we do good work, do it well with others, and make it happen every day.
One of my sort of dark, sarcastic mottos, okay, I don't
Yeah.
believe this, but it's in the back of my head. That dark voice in the back of my head is, David, everything would be okay if people weren't involved. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of organizations, a lot of leaders are really having to, it's gut check time for them. You know what I mean? To truly realize not just for ethical and moral values, but for bottom line business purposes, the true value, the true import of the human beings that are a part of their teams and their organizations. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, you had Michael Stallard on, and he talked
Oh,
about
Mike, yeah,
connection.
yeah.
He's Mr. Connection. Relationships. So sometimes our task is particularly as leaders is to engage in relationships. I find that many of us are good at tasks and we struggle with relationships. So I often trick leaders and say, well, you have a major task, and the task is to build, maintain, enhance, and draw out the good in others, and build those relationships that matter. Without relationship, nothing else is sustainable.
Hmm. I ask this question to a lot of people, and I apologize. You probably heard it in one or two of the videos I did already, but you strike me as a person who might have an opinion on this. Is empathy something that somebody can really learn, or is empathy kind of in your DNA? It's part of who you are.
Oh, Dave, you should have never asked that. My background is 25 years as a counseling psychologist. That's what I taught was empathy, um, being able to understand another person's perspective without necessarily agreeing with it, being able to move away from the self and to join, even temporarily, with another, to have a sense of your own self and your own boundaries without getting lost within your empathy. Empathy is a gigantic force. Um, and empathy, in and of itself, in counseling psychology, is indeed quite healing. That power to be understood. Very quickly, because I said it wouldn't take long, the only way I know to extinguish a fear is to experience a fear. And empathy makes the safety to experience the fear and extinguish it.
That's fantastic, and you give me hope because all too often I seem to find people who just it never occurred to them to be empathetic. You know what I mean? And then every now and then you get these really almost like comic book like twists of fate or turns of fate when you thought you knew somebody. You know what I mean? And turns out you didn't. You know what I mean? And those mini series you see on television that sometimes orchestrate the whole double cross or whatever. When it happens to you in real life, albeit on a less dramatic, smaller scale, it hurts. You know?
Yeah, and and we can understand it. Just very quickly on empathy, one statement.
Yeah.
Stephen Covey said, "Seek first to understand before seeking to be understood," and that's too damn anemic.
Right.
Seek first to understand and demonstrate that
Hmm.
understanding before seeking to be understood, because in the demonstration of your understanding, you'll get lots of correction.
Just to wrap up here, David, can you offer maybe one or two bits of advice for, let's say, a new leader, somebody who's just been given a team or an assignment or a project or something like that, and a budget and a plan, and needs to execute? What would be the one or two things you would tell them?
Braid together results and relationships. If you don't achieve results, then people won't be in the organization in the long term. You're responsible and accountable for results, and you're also accountable and responsible for relationships. And the strength resides with you. Do a good job of bringing and drawing out the best in others, not because it's namby-pamby or it's just a nice thing. It influences results.
David Zinger, it's been nice meeting you via Zoom. I would hope that we would get many more chances to talk and do cool things together.
My pleasure, Dave.